At this point, if you're not using AI for work-related communication, you're probably falling behind. The more AI gets used in the workplace, the more poor communication stands out in a bad way. Maybe you hesitate to speak in meetings or don't speak clearly. Maybe you don't understand things that your coworkers say, jokes, references, idioms. Maybe your emails aren't as clear as they should be. Maybe you get really nervous about giving presentations or having difficult conversations. In this video, we're going to go over the best ways to use AI at work, especially for communication. You can use ChatGPT or whatever tool you prefer. Now, before we start, I would really appreciate if you would hit the like button and subscribe. It's a small thing you can do to support the channel, and it really does make a big difference. Okay, so let's start with emails. Every email you send should go through AI. Typos can cause confusion. If you write something and it's not very clear, then you have to have a back and forth to explain yourself. Sometimes phrasing just isn't natural, and that's the impression that you have on people, right? The simplest thing you can do once you've written your email, this is my email, it's a bit clunky, it's got some punctuation problems, it's too long. The simplest thing you can do is use a 3-word prompt. Now we're going to look at another way of doing this that's a bit more complex, but this is the simplest, and I think this works really well. Make 3 words. This pop. Okay? You might try make this more concise, make this more clear, but if you say make this pop, it's going to pop. And that's what we want. We want to make an impression. We want it to be clear. We want it to be concise. We want it to be easy to read. And of course, we want it to be free of typos. So here's a tighter, more polished version. Hey, just checking if you saw the slides I sent Monday. Let me know if anything needs fixing. Also, are you or I handling the budget part? Thought we decided, but not 100% sure. The presentation is in 2 days, so I need to prep. This is very clear. Obviously, this is between 2 colleagues who know each other well. That's why they use hey. So it's very familiar, and it's not very formal. The original email wasn't very formal, but it's a lot shorter. It's a lot punchier, right? It's easier to get through. A long email is not necessarily better unless there's a lot of information in it. One big issue, especially if you're not very comfortable with writing, is that your email is just too long. It's too fluffy. It's not clear. It's not punchy. I need to be able to read it in 15 seconds or less so that I can respond, so that I can go about my day, right? And then if there are little things like punctuation errors or typos or misspellings, it's not that that's always a horrible thing, but if those add up, I start to get this impression that you're not a great communicator, right? That you don't have a strong grasp of the language. And especially if I see other colleagues sending me very clear, punchy emails, you start to stand out even more because you're not doing it, right? It becomes less and less acceptable to send not perfect emails as more and more people use tools, AI tools, to help them write their emails, right? So it's almost a must at this point. Now, this is one way of doing it. Another way of doing it, and this is something that you can do currently only in ChatGPT, is create a GPT. Now, I think you can only create a GPT if you have the Plus plan, but if you do, you can create a GPT with instructions, detailed instructions that explain how you like emails to be written, right? Giving examples of previous good emails that you've sent or a style of writing that you like, with clear instructions in the GPT stating what you want to happen when an email is pasted in. Maybe you want a revision, or you want 2 revisions that you can choose from, as well as a list of things that were corrected, so that you can see what's different. Then you just click on that GPT anytime you want to send an email, paste your email in with no further instructions, no prompt, and pick which one you like better. If you want me to do this, I'm happy to do it. It's very easy. So let me know in the comments if you want me to create that GPT. So these are just 2 ways of doing it. You don't have to use make it pop. You could say make it more concise. There are other ways to word that. So play around with the wording, but I strongly recommend that you keep that prompt that you use for emails very, very simple so that you don't have to really think about it every time you want to send an email, right? That's not something that should be a burden. It should be a very quick and easy thing to do. Now, what should you do when your coworker says something that you don't understand? Of course, in the moment, you could say, "What do you mean by slammed?" They say a word you're not really familiar with. Maybe you know the word, but it doesn't make sense in this situation. Well, you could do that, but maybe the conversation keeps moving and you don't have time or you don't want to. Later, you remember that word or that phrase or that joke or that idiom or whatever, and you ask for context. This is also a great way to discover language and learn from your daily life. You encounter new language all the time, hopefully. That's a good thing. And you have the original context, the original way it was used. So that will actually help you remember it and make it easier for you to start using if you want to. Now, again, you can also create a GPT for this so that you can just paste in sentences that your coworkers say, jokes, references. That is, in my opinion, the best way to do it. But if you want to do a simple prompt, you could say something like, "My coworker said we're getting slammed this week." And then this maybe should be formatted this way. It doesn't have to be. What does that mean? Is it serious or casual? Give me some more examples using that expression. Meaning, we're getting slammed means we're extremely busy or overwhelmed with work. Tone, it's casual, often used in conversation, especially in busy work environments. It's not usually serious in a dangerous way. It just means there's a lot going on. More examples. The phones haven't stopped ringing all morning. We're getting slammed. Let's grab lunch early. We're going to get slammed after 1. Okay. We were slammed last night. Barely had time to breathe. Okay. So some examples to just get a sense for it. For this, it's a combination of helping you understand colleagues better, right? What they mean, what they're saying, and a fantastic way to improve your English overall. And again, learning from real-world situations is the best way to learn, but don't just get the meaning. Make sure you get some additional examples and make sure you try to understand the connotations, right? The tone, is it serious? Is it casual? Because getting a feeling for a phrase is really important, not just knowing what this means, literally. Do you know that feeling of anxiety when you need to have a difficult conversation with someone, maybe your manager or boss? Well, that feeling is even more stressful if you have to have that conversation in your second or third language. So, one thing that can lessen the anxiety is thinking through what you want to say before you have the conversation. I like to use bullet points for this kind of thing, to know in my mind kind of what I'm going to say in order. It removes some of that stress. So here's a really good way to do that. And by the way, you can use this to prepare for presentations. You can use this to prepare for job interviews. And yes, it's great for difficult conversations as well. Okay, so here's what we do. And I don't know why when I paste this in, it looks like this. The formatting is a bit messed up. But okay, I need to talk to my manager about a personal issue that is causing some delays in my work on a very important project. Now, this first part is the only thing that would need to be different each time. A very simple explanation of what's going on. So if this is a presentation, if this is for a job interview, you would need to explain that. And then you might make some adjustments to these, but these are going to be more similar, right? No matter what you're doing. So number 1, ask me questions one by one to better understand the situation. So first is going to be an interview. I'm just going to answer questions to provide information. With that information, write a simple list of bullet points I could talk through in this conversation. Here you would say, in the presentation, in the interview. Give me a concise email I could send instead of having the conversation. This is an optional thing. You need to think about, what do I want once ChatGPT understands my situation? What do I want back? Do I want an email? Do I want a list of questions for an interview? Do I, for a presentation, maybe want some ideas for hooks I could use? Things like that, right? So we should start with a question. Got it? Let's start with the first question. Without sharing private details you're uncomfortable with, what's the nature of the personal issue? Okay, so then we would go through a series of questions and answers before moving on to creating this outline, bullet point outline of now things I could say, giving me some confidence. And I could ask follow-up questions. How could I word this? How could I say this? What phrase could I use? Can you give me an example of something I might say to open the conversation? Then it becomes this back and forth process of you preparing for this difficult thing, making you feel much more confident and ready to have that conversation, to give that presentation, right? So this is a very powerful process. I use this for all kinds of things to prepare for lessons. I use it to prepare for presentations I'm doing. It's really, really helpful. Okay, we have one more to talk about. Maybe you need to give an important update tomorrow, or you need to explain something very important in a meeting at 3 p.m. today. It can be very helpful to practice doing that so that when you do it for real, it's more smooth, it's more natural, and you feel a bit more confident. It's like practicing. It is practicing. Now we can do this live. It's probably best to do it live. I recommend just using a voice prompt. Start a live chat and then just explain what you want to do. So let's do that. Okay, so I want you to pretend that you're my coworker. I need to explain a project update in a meeting. So ask me challenging questions as we go, and then at the end, give me some feedback on how I could improve my fluency and build confidence.
Sure, let's do it. Go ahead with your project update.
So what we're trying to do for the 90-day program is make updates so that people can see their progress very clearly at all times, not just through individual courses, but through the whole program. So what we want to do is build a custom progress bar, and we're thinking of doing it either in the course platform or in Notion, so that it has checkpoints for when new courses are unlocked, and there's a clear sense of moving toward something.
Thanks for the update. Quick question, how will you ensure that progress data syncs smoothly between the course platform and Notion, especially if someone is using both?
Well, that's the big challenge that we need to figure out. I'm assuming that we can figure out some sort of automation workflow where lesson completions register in Notions, but that's something we'll need to coordinate with the tech team.
That sounds complex. Have you considered potential delays or bottlenecks with the tech team and how that might impact your timeline?
Well, that's a good question. In my view, this is really a nice to have. I think the people going through the program now, because they are able to communicate with me whenever they need to in WhatsApp, there isn't a lot of anxiety around the overall progress, and I think people are still getting a lot out of the program without that feature. It's really just a nice to have that we want to develop.
Got it. So if it's a nice to have you prioritized the core features and how does this automation rank among them?
I think the core features are already in place. I think it's already a pretty seamless experience in terms of completing assignments, completing lessons, getting assignments via email, and then completing those assignments and getting feedback on those. That loop actually works, and so I think we're ready to move into some of the nice to haves.
Great. Have you identified the most pressing nice to haves to tackle first based on user feedback or potential impact?
All right. That's enough. All right. So if you're not already doing these things at work, I strongly encourage you to start, to remain competitive and avoid falling behind. especially in your work communication. Making sure you send good emails with no typos, very clear, as concise as possible, right, with the right tone. Making sure that you never misunderstand something, or if you do misunderstand something, you're using that as a learning opportunity to expand your knowledge of culture and the English language. Making sure that when things do go over your head in a conversation, you learn from that. You learn the context. Preparing for difficult conversations, presentations, job interviews, things like that, with a back and forth collaborative process. And practicing live before you do something, especially if you tend to get nervous when you're speaking in front of others. Practicing that a few times can make you more comfortable and build up your confidence. Let me know how it goes. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. If you haven't done so already, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. Get a free course in the links in the description, and check out the 90-day program, the best way to improve your English fluency in 90 days. And if you don't think so, get a full refund, no questions asked. Yes, even at the end of 90 days. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.